Your program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I'm your host, Sara Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. Thank you for being back. I know it's been 2 weeks. I was off last week. If you follow me across all platforms, which you should, you know I was at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. So I left to leave out on Monday of last week. So I took a mini vacation on top of Freedom Fest. It was pretty cool. I had a good time in Vegas. Got to see so many amazing people in the Liberty Movement. Got to meet some great people as well. If you saw, we did a great episode of Kibbe on Liberty for Free the People. So Free the People did a great episode of Kibbe on Liberty with Rob Schneider, and that was so much fun. Everybody should go watch that episode. It's over on For the People's YouTube channel. It was so fun, so funny. I mean, I was in the room when we were filming it, and it was so hard not just to be like cracking up the entire time, because he is so funny and such a nice guy as well, and really pushing a lot of amazing liberty values. That was really cool. Got to talk with Thomas Massey a little bit. Again, just nice, genuine guy. I have a lot of respect for Massey, and he showed him even showing up after sorry, after his wife passed away a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I mean, it was really great to meet him. Justin Amash, who is running for the U.S. Senate as a Republican up in Michigan. Met him. I've talked to him quite a bit, just behind the scenes. I think I've mentioned it on here because if you know, I'm originally from Michigan. I graduated from Central Michigan University. Still know a lot of people up there, and I think we need somebody like Justin Amash in the Senate. We need more people, liberty-minded people in Congress, in the Senate. And so Justin Amash would make a great U.S. Senator, and who he's running against is not a good not a good representation of who you want as a conservative. So I talked to him about that. Make sure that you know, I'm gonna be pushing for his election a little bit more, showing a lot more support for that. First things first, he's got to win his primary, but we're gonna push through that. So it was good to talk to him as well. And then just like, and everybody else, it's always so fun to hang out with the Free the People team. We have a lot of fun when we get together, because we're all pretty spread out, so we don't get to see each other too often. So it was good. We went to see the Grateful Dead at the Sphere on Wednesday, which was just an amazing show. The Sphere is amazing. John Mayer is an amazing guitar player, and the show was fantastic. I had a great time. Also went to go see one of my all-time favorites, somebody who I would consider one of my favorite artists in any genre of all time, and that's Garth Brooks. I mean, I was probably 4 or 5 years old when was it the Red and is it the Red and Black album? I know the CD is Red and Black, or the cassette tape that we had was Red and Black. I can't remember if that was the name of what the name of it was. But I've loved Garth Brooks forever, and I started realizing, you know, because we talk a little bit, and especially after the people, we talk a lot about culture and how, you know, music and art can influence culture, whether that's via comedy. Comedy is art. We're doing a lot of stuff with art, comedy over there, which during Freedom Fest, part of the one of the overarching themes was comedy can save the world, and point out the absurdities of what is going on in modern politics and modern culture as a whole. So that's art. But then just how many people, I don't know if you know this, Matt Kibbe is our president over there, and Rush's the band Rush, their 2112 album was based off of Ayn Rand's philosophy, and really shaped some of his liberty views, and really what set this tone. And so the art, influencing culture, and we're seeing it a lot now too. But for me, it would be, I started realizing that somebody like Garth Brooks is kind of shaped my life in a lot of different ways. Now, I know some of his songs, actually most of his songs are not dealing with a lot of issues and stuff like that. But one of the songs, and that really, I remember being so young and watching the music video on CMT when I was really young. It was Standing Outside the Fire. And it's the lyrics of that song, even today, when you listen to it, it's, we call them weak who have to stand within the flames. Lyrics like that really make it's talking about how life's not really even worth, what is life if you're just merely surviving and not out there pushing the limits to what life is. And I think if you're just going with the grain, you're standing outside the fire, right? And life is just much more fun, I think, inside the fire. And and so that's I guess that really kind of led me down the path to doing what I'm doing now, right? We are constantly in the line of fire just for speaking our minds out here. And so when you go back, listen to words of a song like that, it's amazing. And then even my libertarian values are very much contrived by, at the time, a very controversial song called "We Shall Be Free," right? And again, most people don't know that music video was taken down in the early 90s off of CMT and other music video platforms. You can probably go on YouTube and watch it now. But you listen to the lyrics of that song, and it's when the last child cries for a crust of bread and the last man dies for just words that he said, then we shall be free. I think those types of lyrics, they speak to anti-authoritarianism. They speak to more liberty values. I mean, it was one of the few songs that addressed race. It said and preach more, values of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. What did it say? It's when the color of skin is the last thing we see. What is it? When the first thing we look for is the beauty within. What is it? I'm trying to remember the lyrics to the song. I'm just gonna say this. Go if you have never listened to these songs. And if you don't like country music, that's fine. But I would just say go check these out. I think you have to go on YouTube to listen to them though, and you can watch the music video. So like I said, the music video actually shows the Berlin Wall being taken down, and there's some riots and stuff like that. And it was a very controversial song in the early 90s. And those, like I said, I started realizing that songs like that, culture like that, is what started to shape who I am, how I view the world. Now, there are parts of that song that seem a little bit more on the left-leaning progressive side, even as of today. like when it's going after, it says when money talks for the very last time and nobody walks a step behind. It does seem a little bit preachy into socialist values, but you can, and almost even now pushing equity. But I would say that's the great thing about art, is you can interpret it as well in different ways. And I don't necessarily know how those lyrics were meant to be, but I know how they influenced me. So that is then I came in. So if I come across a little bit tired, I did not get in back to Atlanta until 5:30 this morning. And so I took a long nap, and then got back at it. So I do want to warn everybody, and this is kind of a funny experience, because it was the Redeye, and I would just caution anybody. I have noise canceling headphones, and they actually have the active noise canceling, so you can't hear like anything. It's just what you're listening to. And I was plugged into the TV monitor, and I was watching Dune 2. And like almost immediately after takeoff, watching Dune 2, I fell asleep. I do not advise anybody to fall asleep on a Redeye watching Dune 2, because being so exhausted, the alarm noises that were going off in the movie started messing with my dream that I was having. And then the plane had some slight turbulence, so a little bit of the movement of the plane. I woke up in like a panic. Like, it wasn't like a bad panic. I woke up not knowing what was going on. I hit I pulled my headphones off, and there was nothing going, like nobody, it was completely silent. So I was like, oh, like that. It brought me back into reality. Like, this plane's not, there's nothing going on with this plane. Like, I thought that we were like really having issues in the sky. So I just advise, just be mindful. But that was fun. It was fun. And it was a really good trip. But let's get into it. I mean, obviously today we're going to talk heavily about what happened this weekend. But first, the Republican National Convention is going on right now. And I just want to point out, everybody's so worried about Project 2025, Project 2025. That's all you hear anytime anybody's talking about, the issues. They've been making it seem like, this is Trump's plan for America and all that. And it's so anti-LGBT. It's gonna, they're gonna force trans people to, like, it's gonna be illegal to be a be a trans adult, even based on what Trump said like a year ago in a video. Which, if you actually go watch it, he doesn't say anything about banning anything. He's talking about gender affirming care, which is not the same as cross-sex hormones, and it's only defunding it from the federal government. So, not banning. There's no words about banning in there. And I will say, Trump has given me shout outs before. I've shown them on here. You can go on my Instagram, and you can see where he's given me shout outs for my work at the Post Millennial. He's also good friends with Caitlyn Jenner, so I don't see him taking this like heel turn towards that to ban stuff for adults. I just don't. He's not a super social conservative. Project 2025, which I think we talked about last week, is a heritage foundation. It's so the Heritage Foundation is a think tank, and this is what they do. They put wish lists together. And so Trump is not the guy who's going to go full on pushing their wish list. I mean, at least he wasn't. Didn't seem like it. And then he chooses somebody like JD Vance, which they're both I saw something today that said that both Trump and JD Vance are, what is it? They're they're like pro-abortion pill, so the Plan B pill, which a lot of social conservatives are against even the pill, stuff like that. So I think that there's a lot of stuff that's in that plan that's not going to. But if you needed a little bit more proof, I wanted to point this out. So this is let me do this. This is so if you don't know who Charles Moran, and he's the president of Log Cabin Republicans. I have a picture with him on my Instagram actually. Great guy, love Charles. But he's Log Cabin Republicans have been pushing to remove we've been obviously changing the Republican platform to remove all anti-LGBT language that they have. And he reported on Twitter earlier today that first day of the RNC, it's official. The national GOP platform has been stripped of all anti-LGBT language. Inclusion one, thank you, real Donald Trump. I've been kind of saying this, right? Most people don't realize Donald Trump. So Melania Trump was honored by the Log Cabin Republicans a couple years ago with their Spirit of Lincoln Awards. And Trump was in attendance. Actually, Trump gave a speech at the awards, and it was hosted at Mar-a-Lago. So people who think that Donald Trump is like anti-LGBT really haven't been paying attention. They don't want to see this stuff. But this is good news because this just kind of solidifies that, you know, LGBT people do belong in the Republican Party, and they are accepting, and it's now in their platform, they are accepting of LGBT people, which I see obviously as a good thing. I've never really thought that they were, you know, homophobic or transphobic or any of the phobics. Not all of them. I mean, I'm talking about as a party, because obviously you have the far right and far left and the extremes. You know, they're always going to be different than this. But this is their party as a whole has taken a stand against it, which tends to it tends to shape what their politicians and their policies actually do. Which again, so this is a good this is a good thing. It's good news that we got, right? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Automation, D&D, yeah. So conservatives are accepting. Only the radical religious types have that hard line with it. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of the hard line people, but I always say the internet's not real, because in real life, I don't get the hate that you would think I would if you were just to see what happens online. So again, that's a good thing. And okay, so let's go into it. Let's talk now what happened on Saturday. I think July 13th, 2024 is going to go down. So, okay, one second. So Calvin says, got a fundraising video from Donald Trump stating gender is male or female assigned at birth. It is. Male and female is not. Wait, what do you mean assigned at birth? It's not assigned at birth. It's observed. So, but in that one video, but your sex is observed at birth, right? So that's a little bit of a misnomer. It's interesting because they don't want federal agencies pushing gender ideology, and that's really where it comes in. Now there's only male and female. You can't change your sex, and it is observed at birth, right? You can only deal with the medical condition that is gender dysphoria later in life, right? Like, and not until you actually reach adulthood. And gender affirming care is not the way to do that. So you know, yeah. But I got you. Yeah, it was confusing. But going back to what I was starting to say is, yeah, July 13th, 2024 will go down as a day that we read about in history for obviously years to go. It's one of those things, where were you moments when there was the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And when you watch the video, it's really interesting because it doesn't for me it obviously it's a scary thought, and when you watch the video, it didn't elicit a ton of emotion for me. But then as it really sinks in as to how close that bullet was to killing the former president, it's insane. And then we'll get into it, but this story is, I don't know what to think about a lot of it, because definitely not on YouTube. We're not going to go down a lot of the conspiracy hole rabbit, or the conspiracy rabbit holes. But there's only there was some extreme lack of, like, there was some extreme lapses in security, and it makes you question, because I think almost everybody out here knows that to even get close enough to do something like this to the president of the United States, or a former president of the United States, with the Secret Service around, it just doesn't even seem possible. You would think that something like this happening would be the impossible. And so we'll talk a little bit about what happened, and yeah, the conspiracy hole rabbit. Told you I didn't get home till 5:30. For anybody that was a joke. So yeah. So if you didn't see it happen, if you haven't watched any of these videos, just for good measure, we're gonna play it so you can see what we're talking about. This was the first video I saw.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Hawkeye's here. You ready?
Okay, we are watching live at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where former President Trump was speaking on the stage.
Okay, so that's the first video. You see him speaking and jolt his head. And so when you could tell he felt something when he jerked. And I at first didn't know if it was actually that something hit him, or if he had an earpiece in that he pulled. Like, it was messing up and he pulled that earpiece, and then to hear what was going on, obviously we know it was the shot hitting him in the ear. This is just watching that video back again right there, like his head tilt mannerisms actually are what saved him, and we'll talk about that here pretty soon. But I just want to show like the aftermath, like even the left, like this. If this, I mean, this is, I don't know, it's inspiring to me. I think this is amazing that the first thing that he did was get up and think to tell the crowd to fight. Because, well, one, people are saying, you know, where was he thinking about fighting? Now, he doesn't know if there's more shooters out there. He doesn't know any of that. And he's telling the people there to fight. Is he thinking that if this is an assault, if there's more people coming to assault on them right then and there to fight back? I don't know. I think he means at the ballot box, he means fight for this country. But here's the next video right after that. Yeah, he stopped them and said, wait. And before I kind of go any further, I do want to just take the time right now to discuss this, because this issue, because there's a lot of people out there who are saying this was staged, this is fake, all that. And my only question really is, I mean, a man died, and that's what I wanna talk about. This man, his name was, and two more are critically injured from what my understanding is, but the man's name is Corey Comparator. That's it. I think that's it. Sorry for butchering the name. But they said he was a real life superhero. So actually, if you look at where he was sitting, I think he was sitting off to the left of Trump. So he wasn't in that first shot. It was one of the subsequent shots that came after that. And he put his body in front of his wife and daughter to save their lives. And to the people who are calling this, like saying that this was staged, well, it's obvious there were real bullets that flew. There's an image, actually, I don't have the image on here, but there's an image where you can see the trail of it. And it's interesting. So when you watch the main video, you see Trump jerk real quick, and then you hear the snap. Now, if I actually have a video shooting a rifle where it's interesting, because from the vantage point, you hear the pop, and then you can hear the round moving and then hit the target, because it's not like instant, right? It's not like a laser. And so the speed of sound, when a bullet's traveling faster than the sound barrier, actually the bullet goes by before you actually hear the click of hear the sound of it breaking the sound barrier as it travels through. So that's why you actually hear the snap, or you hear the pop after Trump jerks. But so they used a real round. And if you're trying to stage something, you're not putting that much faith in a shooter that's 130 yards away. You're just not at all. Because yeah, and you're obviously not going to let a shooter then go on to kill your supporters. If anything, you're gonna have blanks, and you're gonna do it like that. So anybody who's calling the stage, I'm just wondering, you know, I put a post last night. I'm just wondering why the people that are calling it stage are not getting the Alex Jones treatment. Right? Why are they not getting the Alex Jones treatment? Because look, Alex Jones has even said that he was wrong for how he reacted after Sandy Hook. He did an interview with Blair White, and discussed what he was going through at the time and how it was wrong. So why are these people not getting that same treatment that they claim Alex Jones is an evil person, you know, for what he did to those families? But there's what, 3 families now, at least 3 families, one who this person died. Why are these leftists putting them through this? You know, and so, you know, I don't like to, if you watch my show any period of time when these things happen, I don't like naming the shooter themselves. I don't like to give them that notoriety. Anytime I don't like to give that notoriety, because I think it actually does more harm than good. I think it spurs more copycats, people seeking fame for doing stuff like this. But I always want to honor the people that needlessly lost their lives and stuff like this. So go read about Corey, because it sounds like, I mean, his daughter spoke out, and let me see, where is it? And she discussed what happened. And talked about how when the first shots rang out, he pushed them down and covered them. It's yeah. And then we go to at first you start hearing stories like this guy's coming out, and you're like, is this guy actually telling the truth? At least for me, I'm like, is he really telling the truth, or is he just trying to get some media time, right? And spread more conspiracies. But then, so you listen to this. We'll listen.
And watch and listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely.
So that's the one. And so, yeah, you start to hear that. You're like, wait a second. This seems to, because he's right. If people like him are out there calling out that there's somebody on the roof with a rifle, like, why is Trump still speaking at that moment? And this gets even worse. So then now it comes out to be even more plausible, because this video shows him. If you haven't seen this video, watch.
He was doing the job. I wouldn't be doing this. I get some beautiful places support association.
Look, they're all pointing.
Yeah, Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see
You
him?
see police in this video
He's laying
start to
down, see
move.
him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And Scott, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a Senate.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And
There he
it's
is.
not easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here.
on the roof.
It's much tougher than it happens.
You went right on the roof, big guy.
He was doing the job. I wouldn't even be.
So they warned. Trump speaking. They're warning local police officers. Like, what is going on? And they had plenty of time. They knew this. Why? And so this is actually a great edit. I don't know who did it. It's Milk Bar TV is the one that posted it. But it starts to give you pause. Now, let's kind of pull back a little bit, right? Now, there was a great breakdown, and I don't have it on here, of how multiple agencies would work together, right? In a situation like this, how that area, because it was kind of outside the zone, outside of their area, that would be like local law enforcement that were pulled in to provide security for the rally. They would have worked with Secret Service. But they said the zone, like the snipers that you see in the one video from the side, those snipers actually probably aren't watching that rooftop. That's actually not what they're watching in that video, because their zone is much further out, because they're anti-sniper. And so they would, normally somebody that's going to take a shot like that is going to be a lot further than 150 yards, which makes this even more crazy, is that he got that close. That he got that close and missed is an act of God. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I believe in divine intervention. I think something protected Donald Trump that day, And so this video is, and then you see there's the article that came out. Then you find out a police officer actually went up on that roof, confronted the guy. The guy points his rifle at him, and then the police officer runs back down the ladder. And then he goes and turns and shoots. Like, my whole thing is like police, like, if he points a rifle at you, he's not he's what's going on? Like, if somebody points a rifle at you, why aren't you drawing your pistol and shooting, like engaging? That's what police do. Let's watch this. So this is a video that kind of shows the timeline. It shows the multiple angles that you've kind of seen all on the same timeline. Now, I don't think it's perfect, because there's some things that don't line up on it that I've seen. So understand, I don't think it's perfect, but it does a pretty good job of highlighting like everything.
He was doing the job. I wouldn't even be doing this. It's a beautiful place with the gorgeous ocean.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down. You see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And Scott, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a Senate.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look. There he is.
Easy, because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. It's much tougher than
It happened.
You went right on the roof, big guy.
Ever. In recorded history, we had the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring. I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit over that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something,
you can see where it's got the hydraulic that he hit.
We got breaking news. Coming in. Shots fired. Seems to be shots fired at the Trump rally. Is he okay? We need to go live right now. We are live right now at the Trump rally. We don't know if President Trump has been shot. We know he hit the ground. We do not know if President Trump has been shot. He's up. He's up. Shots are still continuing to be fired. He's giving a thumbs up, everybody. He's giving a thumbs up.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of how everything played out in the end. And no, I didn't see I didn't read the actual I haven't actually seen the statement from the police sniper that was issued. So but yeah, so what it was talking about, like with the two Secret Service snipers, one of the reasons why the thing said that you could tell it was they probably didn't actually have eyes on the guy was because they were so far out. They were watching further out, because when the shot did come off, he actually the angle of his rifle was so much further down than where they were even looking in the first place. So there's that. And so what do you mean the flag was upside down? No, it wasn't. I don't think it was. Stars are always in the top left corner. Just everybody knows, right? But it's just crazy to kind of think about. And just real quick, I mean, I'll just say this. If you thought you hated the media, you don't actually hate them enough, because this is how CNN phrased it. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. This was probably the worst one I saw, because it was Washington Post. They said after loud popping noises at Trump rally, And many kind of played that same tone, where at least like with I know the post millennials, I'm pretty sure initially it had said from apparent gunshots, which is when you're reporting and you're trying to be objective in reporting, and you still don't actually know if it was gunshots or fireworks per se, right? That's a little bit different, but it would seem like apparent gunshots is a much better headline, because you still have to be objective, because it could be, like I said, fireworks, but it wasn't. And that CNN just thinks he fell. Like, Joe Biden falls up the stairs, Trump just fell at a rally. Like I said, you don't hate the mainstream media enough. Now this is crazy. So we were talking, divine intervention. This video, I don't know if you've seen this video. This video is interesting. It was 3 months ago. This guy, is he a prophet? I don't know. But listen to this.
All throughout America, all throughout. And I saw Trump rising up. And then I saw an attempt on his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking, people say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus, for what I saw coming. And then I saw people interceding when I saw him winning the presidency through great. The Lord showed me it would go clear into the summer. Great persecution would come on him through the judges and through the law and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff. But there would be a stop to it, and things would start to break free come toward the fall. And then I saw him winning the election through the Patriots coming out and voting. And
really interesting, two of those things have started coming down. Like I said, this was 3 months ago that he said this. And the bullet came so close to his head that it I don't know if it burst his eardrum, but it clipped him. He was bleeding. 2, remember that Mar-a-Lago raid? The documents case? The case that they raided Mar-a-Lago and said that he had classified documentation. Well, yeah, that was dismissed this morning by the judge. So that case is not going any further. I guess they're going to appeal, but he said all that's going to come to a stop. The first case is done. Dropped by the judge. So kind of crazy when you see, actually, that I just thought of that as I was listening to that again, realized that happened this morning because I watched this yesterday. The first step. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this video, like this instance, like makes me it really inspires me to, I guess, vote for Trump. And y'all know I was leaning that way anyways. But I've never endorsed a candidate before election day. I will say I never endorsed a presidential. Never said who I was going to vote for in presidential politics before election day. Never donated to a politician. So I don't know what it was about this. I think it was the resilience, and it was the true mark of a leader. I mean, I've been to combat. I've seen some amazing leaders. And there are the people, nobody knows what's going to happen when they're in a situation like this. There's people who are just going to duck in fear for their lives, and there's going to be people who run towards gunfire, and there's going to be leaders who stand up and inspire people in those moments. Those moments are moments of inspiration, and to see Trump stand up, and yes, I think that there was a moment where he was I think he knew that they had said shoot her down, and so he knew he was safe to do so. But to take that moment and to address everybody and to show strength really was, I have no other way to say it, but it was inspiring. And so, yeah, it really has motivated me. And I will say, like we were talking, I do think it's divine intervention, because that slight head movement towards the end, it got him. I mean, this is what happens without it, and that's what happens, and this is what actually happens. That is a huge difference right there. Huge difference. So Jen, we're getting close, but we're gonna kind of run through some of this. So we'll start moving a little bit quicker. I probably won't get to JD Vance. Now, what are my thoughts on JD Vance? I'm conflicted. I don't know how good he is on a lot of things. I remember that I didn't think he was that great on a lot of things, but a lot of the people that I respect are saying this is a great pick, because I'll tell you, his story is actually more like mine in a lot of ways. He's only 39 years old, so he's only 3 years older than me. He's about my brother's age. And when he joined the Marines after Iraq, and then later came to say that Iraq was a mistake, I joined the Army after I graduated college, and then have now become an anti-interventionist. He's also an anti-interventionalist, and that's where he's good on. He is a non-neocon, so the neocons are going crazy right now, which I think is always a good thing. And it's always a good thing, especially when the person that they don't like so much is a veteran themselves. Yeah, Sweet Thunder, this isn't an airport. You don't have to announce you're leaving. So I will say we'll see where he is on some other stuff. Now, what's really interesting is, you may not know this, the way that it works is if he gets elected, his Senate seat then becomes available. You should know this because that's what happened with Barack Obama, right? I think was it Biden's? No, when Obama pulled somebody to be his cabinet, in his cabinet, there was a senator that had to give up their Senate seat to do that, and the governor of the state actually gets to choose that senator. Vivek Ramaswamy is from Ohio and could literally take his spot in the Senate. So Yeah, I like that I like that he's a vet. I like that he's a vet, but he's an anti-war vet. Because it's 50-50 generally with veterans. You get those like me, and I guess like him, who are like who came to realize later that that's not it. Also, the other thing too. See, this is where I think it's interesting because he was an anti-Trumper. He was a never Trumper. Bro, you're white too. What? What? Oh, people are fun, aren't they? They can't help but show their ignorance that they have nothing to offer the world. So you keep being you, Sweet Thunder. People just a troll on the internet is all you'll ever be. Cool. He was an anti-Trumper in 2016. Actually, I don't even know about 2020. I don't know about 2020. I know he was an anti-Trumper. Everybody's kind of upset. I was kind of thinking earlier, like, where's Loomer at all this? Like, has anybody checked on Laura Loomer, like, at all? Because she doesn't give anybody the benefit of the doubt. But I think this is a good thing to show that Donald Trump doesn't actually hold grudges against people. And will, if you make amends, he will support you. So, and this is crazy that it just in a few years he went from being an anti-Trumper to the vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump. Pretty sure from tweets that I've seen, he voted for Evan McMuffin from the Constitution Party. It's actually Evan McMullen, but from the Constitution Party in 2016. Which is actually interesting too, because that's who I would have written in. Because the I would Evan McMullen was the Constitution Party who was speaking good things, but I liked Gary Johnson until Bill Weld endorsed Hillary Clinton, and then things just really kind of went down the rails from there. I always kind of say that the only vote that I don't regret was actually voting for Joe Jorgensen in 2020. And now this is a different election. This is a different election. I think he could be a good pick, but I just don't think he really has a ton of solid principles just from him apparently flip-flopping on everything he's ever done when he got to Congress. But we'll see. He has that rags to riches story in Ohio. If you have not seen his movie, I haven't seen it in probably 2 years, but there's a movie based off of his book about how he struggled to get into Yale, and when he got in, he couldn't even like make ends meet to get through school, but he made it happen. So he's a fighter, I guess. I guess that's the thing is. So I think there's something to be said there. I'm just interested. I need to look deeper into his policies to really get a good gauge of who he is. Talking more about the Trump assassination attempt. I think it's interesting because President Biden talked about it's going to be the FBI and to not judge the motive. That strikes me a little bit odd because what could the motive be? I have my thoughts on what it most likely is. The people who call us stoic terrorists and try to pin stuff on our rhetoric and call us Nazis and everything like that are hypocrites, because then when something happens because of the words that they say, then they want to blame everything else, and they want to turn the volume down. But yet they're the ones that keep the volume and the rhetoric turned up and blame guns and stuff like that, right? When obviously there was a deep failure. Like, I don't know, the Secret Service would have full communication, they would have full control of the operation, and everybody should have a line to everybody. So the local police should have had a line, I would think, to the Secret Service to notify them that, hey, there's somebody crawling on a roof, get Donald Trump off that stage right now, and we can clear this out and then start the rally again. It's not what happened, though. But Thomas Massey's right. So now you have the FBI. It's the same Bureau of Investigations that did the Las Vegas shooting. Do we know a motive for the Las Vegas shooting? We don't. That just kind of disappeared. Wonder why. That just disappeared. We don't have any answers on the Vegas shooting, to be quite honest. There was no closure, no nothing with that. It just disappeared. And then if you remember the January 6th pipe bomb hoax, because when you get the video and see that it was FBI agents in the area of the pipe bomb, and then there was no pipe bomb there, and yeah, Thomas Massey revealed that video a little while ago. Let me just point this out. This is an interesting stat, an interesting thing, because again, the left wants to call us Nazis, us terrorists, everything like that. But when you look at the past, they want to call us the violent ones. But then you see there have been 4 sitting presidents that have been assassinated. You have Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, and John F. Kennedy. Additionally, 3 more were shot and injured, or were injured in assassination attempts. Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981, Roosevelt in 1912, and now Donald Trump. One of those, JFK, was a Democrat. The rest were all Republicans. Thank you so much, Charlie, for the $10 super chat. Says, keep up the good videos. And I intend to. Thank you so much. Thanks for your support. But that's the thing, is we're the violent ones. We're the ones that are causing, terrorism, and we are domestic terrors in the country, right? That's what they're the ones that say that. But I digress. Now, this was good, because after what happened, you see Donald Trump come out and say, in light of what's going on in the world today, I believe it is imperative that RFK Jr. receive Secret Service protection immediately. Given the history of the Kennedy family, this is the obvious right thing to do. Because, and RFK has been denied, what, 3, 4, 5 times by the Biden administration for Secret Service protection, even though he's out there talking about what happened to his dad, via, talking about the deep state, everything like that. But it's sad that it takes something like this for Trump to come out and say that he deserves it. But so Robert F. Kennedy said, it's a hopeful sign for our country when a political opponent calls for one's protection. Maybe our country can unite after all. What happened right after Trump said it? The Biden administration agreed to give Secret Service protection to RFK Jr. Now, I don't know if this is a good thing or a threat, right? We'll just leave it at that. You can read between the lines on YouTube, right? So, yeah, we'll just talk about that. Yeah. So then, following up on that, there was started to be rumors today that RFK Jr. took a multi-hour long meeting today with President Trump. So by the end of the call, it was decided that he would not be offered the vice presidential position. So it was up in the air even to today. There was a chance that it would have been RFK, but a potential unity ticket to heal the country was discussed, but it was not ultimately decided to do that. But we could see what happens here. And this has been confirmed by people with multiple sources in the RFK community. Josie said she's got sources. I believe her, because RFK was at Freedom Fest this last week, so he spoke, and so there are people that know in the Liberty movement that know the RFK people. So I believe that this is accurate reporting, and I think it would be interesting. And I'm just wondering what's going to happen. I believe, and somebody suggested this the other day, that Trump make RFK his attorney general. Because the only way that you uproot the deep state is use the Department of Justice to go after the deep state. Flush them out. And given everything that we've kind of seen, he also could have been talking to Trump about what happened to his dad and uncle and what was behind that. And I think there's nobody that's more motivated to go after and drain the swamp now than Donald Trump. Again, you can kind of read what I'm saying there. I think these two teaming up, RFK being in Trump's cabinet and especially the attorney general spot, to dismantle these organizations that failed to protect them, failed to protect Trump in this instance. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Now, when Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981, it was seen as a way that people, it just made people love him. It brought more people to him. In the 1984 election, I think it was 84, 1984 election, Ronald Reagan won every state besides Minnesota. What is it? Minnesota and in DC, I think is what the chart said. I think it's going to be. Like I said, I think that people are going to be inspired. Another thing. This is kind of going back into the whole trend of this this entire episode. Came out about 20-30 minutes before I came on air, that now we know that law enforcement had spotted the gunman at least 30 minutes before shots were fired. 30 minutes, and Trump was still speaking on that stage. 30 minutes went by before the shots were fired. We thought 2 minutes was bad. 30 minutes. Why was Trump not pulled from that stage? I don't know. We're going to continue to see more and more of this coming out. And thank God for people like Senator Gary Peters and Senator Rand Paul. They've now announced a bipartisan investigation into the security failures for this. So hopefully, especially with Senator Rand Paul in this investigation, I do trust that we will actually get to the bottom and see what led to this, what the security failures were. Because we know that Rand Paul is a pit bull with a bone on these kinds of things. I think he will do the same thing here as he has done with the COVID investigations, and really get to the bottom of it. And let me see. So what else do I have? If you didn't see this, actually, you can go watch this. I'm not going to play the actual video. There's an interesting thing that I allegedly, not confirmed, but the shooter shows up in this BlackRock commercial, like right here.
That guy made this place a special place to come to
Right
school
there.
and gave as much.
BlackRock commercial. I've already talked about JD Vance, so that was on the list. Last thing I want to play this video from Dana Lash, because there's been a lot of talk about the women in the Secret Service women. And here's the thing. A lot of people, there's viable criticism that the director of the Secret Service, one of their main focuses was diversifying it and mostly trying to get women into the organization. And obviously DEI is never good. If that's what if you're lowering standards, and there have been notable, they've said that the standards have been lowered for the females in the Secret Service, so to try to get more to come in. And that's just not good when, you know, when you're actually taking fire, and you just don't know how you're going to react. And trust, I mean, I think I said it earlier, there's people are built differently. Not everybody is made. It doesn't matter what sex you are, honestly. Not everybody is made to run towards gunfire. A lot of people, when fear grabs them, it can paralyze them. So there's stuff like this. So when something like this happens, fear can either paralyze you, or your adrenaline jumps up, time slows down, and you intensely focus on what you're doing. Most military members I know, most members of the military I know, it's the latter. When things happen, time slows down. It's almost a calming feeling. I remember when we landed in Afghanistan, the incoming sirens started coming off, and we just kind of stood there like, oh. And you see rockets hitting the fob. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. And you're scared for a little bit, but then you just get used to it. And your natural reactions are to protect and to move forward. Put yourself in those situations. You're not thinking, like, your mind goes blank. All your natural reactions come into play. Your muscle memory comes into play, and you literally just react. And reaction is to protect and move forward. The man who died in this situation, his natural reaction was to grab his girls. Think about when you're walking down the street, when somebody goes to walk in the street. My natural reaction is generally I'll grab and pull if somebody's about to walk into the street. Like, it's just hypervigilance and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, muscle memory, natural reactions type things. It's like, you just don't think, you know. It's kind of like Tom Cruise said in Top Gun 1, if you think, you die. Because it's natural. If you're thinking, you're not going to do it. You don't have time to think. So Dana makes a really good point here, and I'll play this real quick.
I'm not in favor of women protecting men, like the President of the United States, unless it's a specific requirement. Now, there are exclusions. There are women who are absolute exclusions to that rule and perform just as good, sometimes better than the men. But that's an exception. That's why they are exceptional. The reason I say this is because I was watching on stage. I was watching when Trump was on stage, and this woman was the first agent in the front. And she was, you know, I thought she actually was performing very well. But he's like, have you ever met Trump? I have. I've known him for a decade. He's tall. He's a huge guy. He's over 6'3" and he's very broad. And if he doesn't want to move, he's not going to move. When you're not as big as your principal, which is what they call the person you're protecting, when you are not as big and you are not capable of overpowering them and getting them and they're not responding, that's a problem. I'm not in favor of women protecting men like the president of the United States, unless it's a specific.
Yeah, that one, she was having a hard time drawing her holster. And look, when gunshots first rain out, your first instinct is to kind of duck yourself and then go forward. Even like you're gonna react first and then go forward. So I don't know when some of those pictures were taken, but it does seem like one of these women was not doing the great. But Dana's absolutely right. Like, there's no, like, there would be no plausible way that they would have me protecting somebody like Trump. I'm like 5'4", he's 6'3". You need somebody that big so that you can at least cover his body if you need to get him out of somewhere. That is what your job is to do, is to shield. So you need to cover and shield. Even like, there's a lot of dudes that can't be Trump's body team because they're not big enough to do so. Like, it's just the reality of it. It has nothing to do with sex in most instances, and it has to do with standards and who you're protecting. It might be different if like this woman that she said that's in the front might be able to protect somebody like my size. She might be bigger than me. She might be fine. She might be doing a really good job protecting me. So I agree with what she said. I think it's more about the physicality of the of who you're set to protect. And I don't think it has as much to do with psychology. I've met some amazing women in the Army, all of which I've met. Actually, now I've now met all three. The first three Ranger graduates from Ranger School. Interestingly enough, I served with two of them in the 82nd. One, and then I met the other one, Lisa. After I did the Jubilee debate last year, she reached out to me. So now I know all three of them, and they're all pretty well known. Like, they were all the ones in the pictures because they were the first three that graduated around like at the same time, and so I know all of them, and they are all just complete badass women, and I would have no issues with them protecting me. I'm sure this woman in here is a badass woman, but you can't lower the standards. Just like in Ranger School, you can't lower the standards for people to pass Ranger School. It's like we're talking about. It's not equity here. It's not an equitable agency. It needs to be an equal agency, right? So that's what I think about that. There's been a lot of talk about that, and yeah, they probably shouldn't have been on Trump's body team. Now, there's a lot of stuff that women can do in the Secret Service that isn't direct support. I would say, I mean, even going out. So this is what's kind of even baffling too, is the Secret Service has Trump's schedule for weeks out, right? And so they have a scouting team that goes out and scouts locations and looks to see where possible threats may be. Have you ever seen the movie Shooter? That's what they do. They actually scout where possible threats may be in these locations. And women would be fine at that. If they know tactics, they know how everything works, they know where the vantage points where they want to make sure they have secure because they're at more risk, the high points, everything like that, where they would be at a disadvantage, and make sure you have somebody on those roofs. That's the thing, is why didn't they even have somebody on that roof just making sure, like watching, just securing that area? Like I said, it's the local law enforcement's responsibility. But overall, the Secret Service are the experts in protecting the president. And so they are overall responsible for his safety, and they are overall responsible for the mission that happens, like how to do it. And if something along there fails, I do ultimately think it falls back on the Secret Service. Even if it wasn't their area of responsibility that failed, they are mission command in these situations. So, yeah. But anyways, wow, we've gone about 20 minutes over, and I thought I was going to go under today because, and I didn't even talk about Alec Baldwin's case getting erroneously dropped. We can talk about that next week if we want, but I'm sure we're going to have a lot more news stories to talk about next week. But I definitely want to say thank you to all of you for joining, especially after I was off last week. I definitely need that R&R though, and it was a great event that we were at. I thank you for joining me this week. If you haven't already, make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.